Hello there, beautiful internet and you superb creatures of the beyond. Today, I'm going to present you a movie that I personally think it's one of the essence of what makes movies about artists really special. And I've seen quite a few. If you remember, we did a review on some other artists in the past, but this one is more impactful. Like I remember about the one about Van Gogh, and Van Gogh was no, he had a difficult life, but he was more of an introvert in a way. While we have Modigliani, Amadeo, who is on the opposite spectrum, and he was an extrovert by all means. He was insane in many aspects. And I'm just trying to recall to focus my thought process about him because he has such a colorful life, but in the same time he has a very sad life as well. And the movie portrays this in such a beautiful way. But keep in mind that the movie is more of a artistic representation of his life. It is a piece of fiction in many ways because many of the events that happen in the movie didn't happen like that in real life, in his life, in the past. But the characters are inspired by the true people that lived around him to some degree. But not everything in the movie is quite accurate. And we'll get to that in a moment. So Bodigliani only lived 35 years, and mainly due to his health, because he was born quite sickly. He had a fragile health, but it also didn't help that he was kind of self-destructive. He did a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, especially. He was a notorious alcoholic. And he wasn't living in the best conditions. Most of the time, he was a nomad. He moved around a lot. He lived in poverty. He wasn't that great with finances, let's just put it that way. But all in all, some of the work that was recovered, because not the majority of his work was destroyed either by himself or was lost to time and so on. But the pieces of work that he left, it really shows the struggle of an artist that goes through the hardships of life to the point where, I don't know, he was truly magnificent towards the end of his life. He was a painter, he was a sculptor, and he was also a poet. And it's mentally, it's just so beautifully represented in the movie, all of it. The roles are played by Andy Garcia and his wife Elsa. Well, his lover actually in the end, Elsa Zilberstein. Amazing characters and actors, and I just can't put it in simple words. It's just so deep, so impactful, so controversial in many ways. He was a force of nature of his time. He even hated Pablo Picasso, but later throughout the years, he kind of befriended him. It wasn't much of a rivalry as much as he needed something to expose his energy towards. And Picasso was also quite energetic in his own way, but they didn't see eye to eye from an artistic point of view. Although Modigliani, maybe he never admitted it, but he maybe liked Picasso's work because it was different, and his art was also controversial. I mean, Modigliani's, and actually, funny enough, people didn't like his art when he was alive. A lot of people. It took a long time for his art to start being noticed, and most of his art was, well, he had to do a lot of nudes. And nudes at that time were considered, well, sort of like a cheesy way to make money as an artist. It wasn't considered art. But today, when I look at his work, oh yeah, he was, well, people might consider it silly and childish, but once you start analyzing some of his paintings, they're just so beautiful. And well, it's worth to mention that he was inspired by Nietzsche, of all people, especially in his art towards poetry. He was seen as kind of a fool, or as a gesture, because he was constantly going insane. He was having these rants. He was dancing naked. Well, not naked. He was dancing um, unwell dressed for the winters he was out. He was always drunk, and yeah, he did a lot of insane stuff. But he's the epitome of what it meant to be a hardcore artist and live a hardcore artist life that produced some of his best artwork. The more depraved he became, the more artistically inspired he also became to grow in him in a way, you know. And I'll just show you some of his works. Let's see if I can bring it correctly here. Damn it. So, mm, yeah, quite quite unique in many ways. As I said, at the first glance, they look childish, but they're not. This is him, Amadeo Modigliani. He's Italian, by the way, and most of his life, or a good portion of his life, he lived in France, um, especially in Paris, where it was the epicenter of the art centers. He was around great titles and great people of that time. He even had his own expositions, but his art, as I said, was extremely controversial. This is some of his sculpt, sculpt, ah, sculptures. I forgot the word. But I wanted to see. I know I've noticed a beautiful painting somewhere. Can't remember where exactly. And a lot of the paintings he did of women he had in his life, lovers, and so on, was quite an attractive man for his time. And we see like a lot of it is very elongated and simple lines, yet a picture like this, a painting like this, sorry, it has so much life into it when you start looking closer. The eyes are simple but impactful. The smile is like a beautiful smirk. So is this very drastic and sharp um, elements in his painting, very chaotic in how he painted. He applied the paint to the subject, but in the same time, it is quite an interesting technique. I don't think I can find the piece of art that I was looking for. Unfortunate. Yeah, this one. He also loved to paint nature at one point. but this was more towards the end of his life, and mm, he was quite a character for his time. He had friends that wanted to help him, but somehow he always managed to escape their clutches into changing him to be a healthier man, because they cared. He was a lovable person when he was not extremely drunk, but uh, yeah, he really didn't take care of himself. In the movie, he dies a more dramatic death, but in real life, he just died because of tuberculosis and extreme alcoholism and drugs, of course. But in a way, it's sad that he had to sacrifice his well being in order to achieve his greatest potential. Because people were really impacted by his death. They really, really adored the man towards the end of his career. Well, his life actually, not career. I don't know. The movie is just superb in many, many ways. I highly recommend you watch it. It's it catches the essence so well, and the love story is really impactful, and it also showcases some of the other artists such as Picasso, of course, that lived in his lifetime, and show his um, relationship to them, sometimes quite chaotic and destructive, but also that brought these people close to each other, because as I said, artists are controversial by nature, but they can find middle ground in all that chaos. I don't know. It's a very impactful movie, really beautiful. And if you really want to enjoy a movie from 2004, well, this is the one I recommend for you. Okay, guys, sorry I mumbled a bit, but there was so much information about this guy, and in his real life, you can even search some of his history, and you will notice that the movie touches upon them, but his history is quite unique. Okay, guys, catch you in the next episode. Stay awesome. Bye, 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 bye.